Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and for this video, we're going to be showing off another build for Ironeye. He's becoming kind of my favorite character lately, really enjoyable to play as. I came up with a build that utilizes Frost and also utilizes the current Evergaol Meta, which I'll go over how that works as well. It's really cool. It can kind of stack damage for you as you continue through your runs. And this is going to be a mix of solo content with 3-player content with randoms as well in this video. Let's jump in now. I'm going to show off a solo clip real quick to show how the build works, but basically the concept for the build here is going to be Frost build up. I have Poison on the ultimate, and then we're going to be using the current Evergaol Meta. And what do I mean by the Evergaol Meta? I'll explain that in a little bit, but basically it's a boost in damage you get from Relics that every time you take down an Evergaol, you get around a 5% increase in your damage, and people are stacking these frequently, and it can make your build really powerful. And here in solo mode, you're going to see me absolutely shred the Tree Sentinel. I was able to get my bow to purple. I defeated, I think, 6 Evergaols in total, so it was like a 30% increase in damage. There's the Frost build up there as well. That'll give you a debuff on top of your targeting ability, increasing your damage even more. The damage with this build is going to be really good for Ironeye. And yeah, it's honestly pretty great. It's going to mix well with your targeting and marking ability, where once you mark and you get a Frost proc with the debuff, you're just going to get consistent added damage. And as you stack up those Evergaols, you're going to be able to cruise through some of the bosses in the game in solo mode. And even in 3-player mode, I'll show off that too in a group as well. It ends up excelling a lot. Let's talk real quick though about the Evergaol meta. So basically, every time you start a match, and it's going to be difficult to pull randoms with you if they're not on board, you're going to, if you have the relic that increases damage per every Evergaol defeated, you're going to want to go to as many as possible. You get the stone sword keys from all the cathedrals. You can get a lot from forts and whatnot. They're in basically a lot of the smaller encampments and stuff, and you can find them pretty easily. And then you're going to go to Evergaols pretty much all over the map. As long as they're within a decent range from you, I recommend doing them. If you're with randoms, just mark them if they're nearby. If you have a key, odds are people will follow you there. In solo mode, I was able to get 6 of them down, so it wasn't bad at all. When I was with a group, I think we got around 4 down, so it was a little bit trickier to pull them into that. But it can work. You can make it work, and you can get the boost in damage. Now, for the Evergaols, there is one thing worth mentioning. At the beginning there, you saw I rolled the Knights. I don't recommend facing them early. They actually took me down once. They're a little bit difficult for Ironeye. But then you have bosses like this one here. If you roll this one early, it's excellent. And then the Godskin Apostle, Godskin Noble, also, again, fairly easy as Ironeye. There's certain ones you're going to pick that are going to be very easy for you to take down, and hopefully you get some decent rolls early on if you're playing solo. If you're playing with a group, it's going to be less of a concern, but the Banished Knights, the Ancient Dragon can be in Evergaols, which is insane. If you get him, that's kind of a tough roll. And then the Noxtella Soldier as well, that's another really tough roll. But aside from a couple ones that you're going to want to maybe come back to, most of them you could just cruise through, get the damage boost, get the boss buff as well, and move on. And this is something that people are doing consistently now, and they're doing it really well. They're probably running through and getting like 8 or more of these done. For me, I'm not that level of efficient, but I do notice the damage increase, and it is really good. I really enjoy getting that damage boost from the Evergaols being defeated, and if you get a good enough relic with it that fits your build, it's absolutely worth adding to it. And I want to talk real quick about the increased damage and show a boss. And then we're going to show Gaping Jaw as a 3-man crew, although I make a couple mistakes in that clip. And then we're going to show Gladius solo as well. The damage there ends up being excellent. I end up taking I think half of Gladius's HP down in around 30 seconds, 25 seconds or so. So it's pretty incredible. The damage boost you're going to get from the Evergaols is going to stack up. And there's the Frost proc that we got as well for the debuff. Continue using your marking ability, and then just use as many arrows as you possibly can, hitting the mark, of course, because it does increase poise damage as well, increase damage. And the Frost proc will also allow us to do even more damage. Yeah, playing as Ironeye is really fun, and you're going to get the hang of this build real quick if you try something similar to this. But basically, the concept is, and I'll show the relics at the end of the video. Everything's timestamped, by the way. If you ever don't have the time to watch the entire video, it's all timestamped. But you're going to want to make sure that you get the Frost proc, so you want to build up that quickly. Use your marking ability when you can, like here, for instance, there was a good opportunity to do so, and then just continue to pelt constant light arrows over and over again. We have Frost on our arrows, Poison on our ultimate, as I mentioned earlier, but On top of all that, we also have increased damage on frostbite enemies. When enemies are frostbitten, we're going to have an increase in damage as well. So that adds up to a lot. And you're going to see a massive payoff when you're adding in the Evergaols too and stacking everything up. It really does add up to a crazy amount where Ironeye is just doing a ridiculous amount of chip damage that essentially adds up to a ton. And it turns Ironeye into an excellent character to play as. He's already really powerful to begin with, but if you stack Frost, the Frost Boost, the Evergaols, you can really start to stack up the amount of damage as possible for Ironeye. Let's talk about Nightlords now. And the first one's going to be Gaping Jaw with a group of 3, and Gaping Jaw takes good frost damage, so this will be a good example to show. And then, of course, we're going to show Gladius solo, which is really cool as well. I'll show off the build there, too. The concept here, though, is the same. Get the targeting ability on him as fast as you possibly can, and then pelt him with arrows. You're going to get a frost proc really quick. There's the chunk damage there, because he's relatively weak to frost. He's weak to frost and poison. He has low resistances against both, so he's a really great boss if you want to try out this build. And of course, afterwards, if your allies aren't using flame, you'll get the debuff and increase in damage. If they're using fire, though, it will reset the frost, and then you can get another chunk damage. There is a fire frost thing that you can do as well, but for me personally, I really like having the targeting ability mixed with the debuff. I feel like that's a good combination between the two, and making sure that you're marking your enemy, of course, and then hitting them as many times as you possibly can. We're going to use our poison ultimate here, and this ends up actually saving me from most of the lightning there, and continue just to pelt him with arrows and do as much damage as we can. Now, towards the end of this clip, I am going to make a few mistakes, no question about it. I'm far from perfect from these games. I think I get bitten once or twice, and then I go down in some pretty funny fashion at the end, but we do end up taking Gaping Jaw down, and the damage is really good when you stack up those Evergaols and you build up Frost as well. Now, Ironeye's ultimate, when you first use it, you're going to get a poison proc pretty much every single time on the first go for the majority of bosses in the game. After that, though, resistances are going to go up. So, you might want to add something like poison grease or have a poison arrow on the side or poison bow on the side. And that way you could just throw in a couple of arrows and then make sure you get the poison proc after using the ultimate, as resistances do go up. But the first one that you hit with, generally, you're always going to get a poison proc for most of the bosses. I've tested this against most of them. Unless they're immune to poison, they're going to get that proc the first time. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult later on as resistances do go up. And there's the second bite he gets off on me, but it's alright. We've been doing really good damage and great frost damage. Can't wait to show off the solo clip and then the relics. But yeah, this was a pretty cool fight overall with Gaping Jaw. Got a really good crew for this one. We hit max level, which was awesome. We actually hit max level before the final circle, so that was pretty incredible. For the last circle, we were at 15. We were really efficient this round, and got in around 4 or 5 Evergaols for that 20-25% damage increase as well. Once again, using the targeting ability, here's the mistake I make at the end. I rolled right into the lightning, but he's already down at that point. Did a lot of damage, though. Ultimately took Gaping Jaw down. We were able to get a lot of frost build up as well. Let's show off Gladius solo. Let's see how much damage we could do there. And again, I mentioned about half of his HP is going to go down in about 25 seconds. So let's jump into that now. And now we're on to Gladius solo. This is going to be a fun fight, ultimately. I enjoy doing solo modes on occasion. Not all the time, but on occasion. Only did one run and took down Gladius. Wasn't that bad. Do go down once in this clip. I'll explain that when that happens. But first things first, as I mentioned, let's talk about how much HP we're able to take off combining his ultimate with our regular arrows. And then we do get a frost proc before he phases as well. You're going to see this. This is about 25 seconds in. Close to half of his HP is gone, which is pretty incredible. Now, this is where I start to mess up. Now, instead of using the marking ability, what I ended up doing was I used it here, but I wanted to back off and get the 1 to lead and the 2 behind him, because I'm usually able to do that. I fought Gladius solo many times, and for the most part, especially as Ironeye, I'm usually able to get 1 in front and the 2 behind. I was unable to do that here. I end up taking a ton of damage as a result. And it was mainly because I was just trying to back off, get all 3 of them on screen, get 1 to lead so I could just hit the 1 in front and then use my marking ability if need be. But unfortunately for me, it just didn't end up working out that way. I was unable to get all 3 of them away from me at a distance, which would have been perfect, and that's why I ended up going down ultimately. A little bit of bad play there, but not a big deal. After we get up, he goes down very fast. After he turns back into a single dog with 3 heads, he's not going to be very difficult for Ironeye here. But yeah, normally I can get them away from me, get all 3 on screen and 1 to lead. Most of the time that works out really well for me. Unfortunately, that time I could not get away from them and they kept spamming attacks. Now we're using the marking ability there. We're going to continue to go at Gladius here and take him down as fast as possible. With these 6 Evergaols I took down and the damage boost, along with the purple bow and frost buildup, he goes down fairly quickly. I think it was about 1:40 in total, and I did mess up a lot in between there. But this build ended up being really good. I was really happy with the way this one turned out. I love the frost, the added damage when frost is procced, as well as the current Evergaol meta. And I appreciate you guys watching this one. I'm going to go over Relics now. If you're not subbed, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on the bell notifications for when I post. Again, I'm not perfect at these games, but I really do enjoy this build. As somebody who just plays this kind of casually, it's really fun. We have Ironeye Art activation, adds poison effect, increased rune acquisition for self and allies, starting armament, inflicts frost, extends duration of weak point, attack power up when facing frostbite afflicted enemy. And then for the last one, you could probably get a better roll for this one. It's the Evergaol increase per prisoners defeated, and then defeating enemies fills more of the art gauge. I just need a better third roll for the yellow one. I do not have a better one currently, but you could probably add something like increased physical damage or something like that. I'm sure you could find something to add in there to make the build even better. I will catch you guys in the next video.